and your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours!
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
Neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream?
To go away.
To go away. That's great.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
GM, what's up, guys? What's going on? Hope you guys are doing well. Back, another good day in the markets, another stream here on MCG, and some good price action as well. Got a lot to catch you guys up on. We got a lot of stuff that's happened. I don't know if you guys been watching the World Cup. World Cup has been fire. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some time on Pumpcade with the beta that they announced last week. But yeah, I mean, there was that. There's so much going on with the World Cup. There's Ansem token. There's a bunch of people coming out wanting to help Ansem to onboard new users to crypto. Crypto is looking good again. Yeah, so there's a lot. There's the whole VVV drama that continues to capture people's attention. A lot of people still talking about that. So we have a lot to go through today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us again. Real quick, I guess maybe we just start off with some GMs in the chat, number one, and then some housekeeping. Maybe we do some housekeeping here. Let's see. Let's go to the MCG. Let's go to the MCG main account. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just start with some housekeeping. It's a decent amount of us in here. It's about 50 of us in here. GMCG Josh. GMCG to the homie. Yeah, let's see. I wonder if I can put the chat on. No, it's gonna cover me. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So GMCG to Josh. All right, let's go to MCG Live. Yeah, let's go to MCG Live. Go to the main account. Let's zoom all the way in. Make sure you guys can see that. All right. So as you guys know, need you to do two things for me. First off, make sure you are following the MCG account. You want to go to @MCG Live. Make sure you are hitting the follow button. We're here Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. This week, we'll start off with a banger MCG Trader Radio, and we'll go through the rest of the stream schedule for the week. Thank you guys so much for 11.9K, 50 followers until we get until we reach 12K. It's going to be pretty massive. Looking good here so far. You're going to want to scroll down. You're going to want to scroll down and you'll see our broadcast link here. Live. Crypto looks promising. Here's why. You want to do two things. Hit like and hit retweet. It's almost 100 of us in here. Okay. It's almost 100 of us in here. You know, you see the boys, they're telling us we're killing it. Go ahead, like the stream, hit retweet. Make sure you're telling, some folks that we're here. It's about 74 of us in here right now. If we get if each of one of us can get a follow, that can actually hit us to 12K. But either way, let's do that. First housekeeping of the day. Next, let's go back to Twitter. I want to discuss the schedule for this week. We actually have a really banger lineup. Yeah, we here now. Yes, sir. GM to Fitzy. Why is the chat bugging out like that? That's crazy. But GM to Fitzy. Josh, how many people are in Discord? I think we have almost 400 people in Discord at this point. I actually, speaking of that, chat, I need your help. Should we cap the Discord? I'm thinking of capping it at I don't know, 400, 500 people. There's a lot of value that we can uncover in Discord. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's traded, obviously in the Discord, we've been there on the Robinhood Eco for 2 weeks, just chilling. Got a 4,000% move on, captured the 4,000% move on Cash Cat in the Robinhood Eco. And we've tons of stuff, perps wise. A lot of us are long Tau, or not Tau. I'm sorry. I am long Tau, but a lot of us were long near. I'm already up on that. A lot of us were long hype at the lows, up on that. Ondo, up on that. A lot of us are capturing some of these moves like Zero. I don't know if you guys saw Dot on base. Our Discord here caught it at 235K market cap, and I think it's at 6 million right now. So the Discord is popping off. I say all of that to say the Discord is popping off, but when you start inviting too many people in at once, things start to get a little hairy. So we're at about 370 members right now. Chat, you guys let me know. Should we include more people, less people? Should we, I'm actually thinking about basically capping it at let's say 400. And then after that, I'll keep it open where anyone who comes in, they have access to the general chat only. And they have to work their way up through, length of time they're in the Discord, how much they're interacting, how much their activity in the Discord. And basically they'll gain XP and then they'll work their way up to an MCG OG role to then get access to the trenching, the perps and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. It's going to take some work with the Discord, but that's how I'm approaching it anyway. Oh, Crypto Jones, cap it now. It'll be cool if we could tokenize our Discord access. The fair value on that would be insane. Tokenizing The Discord access. Like, what you thinking about, Crypto Jones? Like a like an NFT type thing, or like launching a token? I don't know if I want to launch a token. Um, yeah, like how would you tokenize the Discord access? Would you like launch an MCG token to like? Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you thinking on that. But yeah, that's the thought so far. We're gonna cap it at some point sooner than later. So if you guys want access to the Discord, feel free to go to at MCG Live, go to our profile, go to the link in our bio, and you'll see the link in our bio that'll have a link tree, and that will have a link to the Discord. All right. So real quick, just to cover this week's schedule, because we have a pretty massive week. Obviously, today's MCG Trader Radio. Tomorrow, we have a few things. Claw is back. Kaneo Capital, he'll be back on the show. Chad of a guy, honestly working on amazing stuff there with Claw Pump. And I would love to at some point be able to experiment with like a trading agent. You guys know from, a few months ago, I was experimenting with the protocol using trading agents and stuff. I really like it. I really like the concept. So I would love to see if there's some way maybe when I get time, so I can like create an agent. But Claw Pump, I think Ansem as well. He was like researching or bought into Claw, so that there's a lot of attention around it. Bio LLM, we know from the other day that Bio LLM, I think they had something to do with IBM. I forgot exactly what it was, but basically they're able to now take advantage of kind of IBM connections. Essentially, they're part of the IBM ecosystem officially. So it kind of proves that the tech isn't like LARPy, because obviously it sounds crazy. What a lot of what they say that they can do, but obviously a connection to IBM and its ecosystem really validates the tech. Then we have Lasso Finance, the new raise on MetaDAO. That's all coming up tomorrow. Wednesday, we have JTVO. A lot of people have been getting into that lately. That's like an OG project from like the Believe Eco back in the day. BV7X, another one that's been popping up. A personal favorite of mine I've been building conviction in is Clash of Perps. I think this is really has a lot of potential. So I'm actually really excited to hop into that interview on Wednesday. I have a lot of questions for him, mainly around like user traction, growth, their reception and connections with other perp dexes and stuff like that. So we'll talk a lot about that. Thursday, we have Chip, Upshot. Friday, we have Start Out Fun with their new raising mechanism. So we'll get the boy Adam back on. And then another community favorite, Dragnet. You see it right here, followed by Red. Red has been hitting me up a lot about Dreg, and I have to look into that. So we'll look into that today on stream, actually, and we'll just kind of unbox that whole project together. But that's the week here on MCG. I think Dom is also adding a few names to this list, so maybe expect some additions on Thursday, maybe some additions on Friday. Either way, we're looking good here. Yeah, you see Red. Good to see Dreg getting the exposure it deserves. Yeah, Red is a huge Dreg bull. Okay, so there's the week for MCG. Let's talk about price action real quick. And before we officially get started with like BTC prices and whatnot, I saw that Crypto Jones said something in the chat. So let me take a look real quick. Let's take a look real quick. NFT should work. Just an idea. I'm not the guy to figure out the technical details. You're the idea guy. I got you. Yeah, I mean, look, I think we're definitely going to gate access in some way, right? But I'm not sure how. Like, to be honest, we haven't really like talked about NFTs or tokens. It's more like, why does that always happen? Dude, the chat is like, just like freaking out on me. You guys see that? All right. Anywho, GM Top Fumbler, good to see you, bro. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna gate it, but not like via NFTs or tokens, but I was more thinking of like something a little different. But yeah, we'll see. But at the very least, we're going to cap the amount of people that can kind of come in. There's a lot of value there. And boys, I mean, it's 390 of us. or 376 of us rather in the Discord. And I think at the beginning of a bull, like that's a good solid starting group. And we just vibe, we trade together. I mean, dude, I love the conversations we have in the Discord. Honestly, like the Discord is my main place. The Discord is my main place. Like someone has a question hit me up in the Discord. Like I'm not checking like TG or none of that stuff. Like I'm literally just in the Discord mostly there and Left Curve. Those are the two places like I try to be as much as possible. But MCG is like definitely the Discord that I'm in, the place that I'm in all the time. All right. Anywho, let's move on to price action. All right. So we have a few things to discuss. As you guys can see, the title of today's stream is Crypto Jones is in there all the time too. Yeah, hit us up. As you can see, the price action on Bitcoin here. So we're in a very, very key place. We've now swept a little bit of liquidity at the lows. We're in a key part of the range. I'd like to start though with my overall outlook, which is, as you can see, this white line, summer bottom. I really do think that we'll bottom in the summer. A lot of people, they're waiting on basically Q4 to be this time to accumulate and to take advantage of low prices. What I'm just trying to help everyone to understand is look at a few things. On a high time frame, let's delete that for a second. Typically, and this only goes back to 2020. Maybe I get a chart that goes back a little bit further. Yes. So let's erase all of this off of this chart here. And let me just go through my overall macro take as to why I think crypto is looking promising right now. I'm going to just draw 3 simple lines. 1 line, 2 line, and 3 line. Okay. So essentially, when we are below the last all-time high, actually, I'm sorry. Let's do all intervals. Let's do visual order. Bring to front. Bring to front. All right. When you look at Bitcoin on a high time frame, you understand that when Bitcoin enters a period of time where it's below the previous all-time high, it tends to be a very high value area. Now, when you zoom in and you look at, that area, you realize like, hey, look, we actually dumped here in the middle of this. We dumped 26%. So are there big dumps awaiting us? Perhaps. Who knows? All I know is that overall on a high time frame, when in doubt, zoom out, right? On a high time frame, when you're below the previous all-time high, it tends to be a great area to accumulate, a great area to pay attention and to start to position. So I know that a lot of people, we've gone down for, how many ever months, and people are just saying that, hey, look, we still have to go to like sub 50K, or we have to, if we make it down there, maybe we do, maybe we don't. That's not up to me to decide. I'm not trying to time the exact bottom. I'm just trying to get in the general vicinity. And right now we're in the general vicinity from a price action standpoint. And in a moment, I'll also talk about from a kind of narrative, from a narrative perspective, we're also kind of getting to a key point as well. But just looking purely at the TA, I'm actually going to go back a little bit, even more into our. Just want to see something real quick. Yeah. So just from a TA standpoint, we are actually in a very key zone. So this is where you pay attention. We've swept some liquidity on the 2-week. I wonder if we did so on the monthly. I didn't look at this before stream. No. So we swept some liquidity on the 2-week here. Obviously, this is a 2-week SFP right here at 60K. That's a very nice indication. A lot of people are saying that 60K won't hold. You guys know that for a long time, we've been looking for these sub 60K levels. Let me go to the 3-day real quick, and we'll take a much more, a much more zoomed in view. So we've been talking about the sub 60K level. I've had it marked off on the chart. We've had the summer bottom thesis. You've seen this on my chart. You know this on my chart. So we now swept some liquidity below 60K. We did another 3-day SFP here at 58K. So I told you guys last week, as you can see from my drawing, my very terrible drawing here on screen was, hey, I told you guys, hey, look, I'm only concerned with the next move. And right now, I feel like the next move is going to be up here into like the 67K area, somewhere around there. Maybe not exactly, but at least pushing into that red zone, that red resistance zone there. And so that's really the next move that I'm waiting on Bitcoin. In that red zone, I'm probably going to take a lot of profits on my longs. I'm going to take, and I might even look for I will look for reasons to be bearish, because my view now is that while we have swept a lot of liquidity at the lows already, I think what they're doing now is they're building up liquidity at the 60K level, right? They're saying, hey, look, we're building up liquidity here. Oh, look, guys, it's a really nice support zone. 60K is really nice support. So when we actually do get up here, when we do get up into these levels, we're actually, I believe anyway, we're going to absolutely nuke it and then start the official grind higher into the next bull run. So do I think that you should wait until Q4 to get positioned? I don't, because according to this 2-week chart, we're already in a high value zone. Not just for Bitcoin, but for on-chain. There's so many different, and we'll go through some on-chain stuff here in a little bit, but there's so much stuff, that's like truly investable in our space right now that is just really, being overlooked. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. You guys might have seen my tweets. I've been talking about ownership token equity models a lot over these last few days. And it's because I think that's the core reason of why crypto looks so promising from a narrative side. But now just purely sticking to the TA, that's what we're seeing on Bitcoin. We're in a high value zone. And sure, on the daily, let's go to the daily here. On the daily chart, could we have some buffoonery play out on lower time frames? Maybe they're stacking, maybe they're encouraging people to have a false sense of security or a false sense of like, they're kind of like goading people into thinking that 60K is a good support level, is what I'm trying to say. And eventually, my take anyway is that we now go all the way down, take this, maybe we go 55K and then begin our leg higher. And that's what I'm thinking plays out. That's how I think we'll end up forming a bottom going into, August and Q3. And then while everyone is waiting for Q4 to kind of be the place to buy, prices would have now already been elevated off the bottom, and they would have essentially like missed the high. They would have missed the high value zones down here because they were looking for lower essentially. So that's what I'm thinking plays out right now. So again, could be some buffoonery happening on the lower time frames for sure, but ultimately on higher time frames, we know that we're in a deep value zone. So let's look at some of the others, some of the other majors. Let's see what's going on. Zoomed out way too much on that. Looks like ETH is also beginning, a trek higher. ETH actually looks pretty strong here. I wonder what this looks like on the 3-day. We didn't get like a full sweep of liquidity down here, but ETH looks solid. I've told you guys before. That's why I have these circles drawn. The last time we talked about ETH is like, hey, look at the last 2 times that ETH was down at these levels. Didn't sweep any liquidity there either. So this could just be a blind long, to be honest. But yeah, ETH has looked pretty good from these lower levels, and it's literally has formed this huge range here on ETH. Outside of that, what else do we have? Let's look at Solana. Solana is one that I've been pretty vocal on. It's crazy. Ansem actually followed me over the weekend because of my Solana take. And basically I was telling you guys that, look, when you look at the 2 month on Solana, and let me get some of this stuff out the way. When you look at the 2 month chart on Solana, we're coming into a 0.786 level, key retracement level, high value. That's the first. Second point of confluence is the 2 month FEG, fair value gap on a high time frame. And then the third area of confluence is a SFP right here on the 2 month as well. So we had all of these things, and at the same time, we had people coming out saying that KOLs are being paid to shill SOL. We're seeing people call Solana the meme coin chain, scam chain, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously, at lower prices, the FUD tends to be at its highest. And for those that can kind of look beyond that, for those that can look beyond the FUD, they can actually see the value. And we were one of those. We were one of those people who actually came out and saw. We were one of the ones that came out and actually saw that value. And I guess that's why Ansem decided to follow. But looking at lower time frames here, what is going on with my my keyboard? I just clicked a few things randomly. There we go. So we're now at range highs on Solana. So I want to see exactly what happens here, because I told you guys that, like you saw this little circle here, this is kind of the area I want to see Solana get to before before any kind of major pullback. And I would assume that if Bitcoin can make it to 67K, almost 70K, I think we can continue to see this run for Solana. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see exactly how it plays out. I'm waiting to see what happens on the daily. But right now, if I were to remove this, you see that we're pretty much at range highs. Before, this was the range that we were at before. That was the rough range before, but obviously now the market is shifting upwards. So we now made a higher high. So now I'm looking for essentially a higher low to be formed somewhere, whether we just continue on and break through 84K and go, $84 and go straight to 100. We'll see. But I'm right now short term, looking for, some sort of low to form. And that's why I had this, fib drawn out, because I would love for a nice zone to be formed somewhere here. Actually, this is probably a much better order block to, yeah. So right here, I mean, if we were to form a higher low without just powering through, I'd assume it'll form somewhere around here. That's what I'd assume. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Solana. We're at range highs, so I'm not going to be the one to try to say, oh no, it's going to power through, because at range highs things tend to kind of stall out a little bit. But we'll see what happens with Solana. Still, overall, again, this is just more short-term noise, within the next couple of days, and maybe over the next week or two. But overall, still expecting that, Solana to have now officially kind of turned the corner here. When you look at the characteristics of the Solana chart, we go on a high time frame, and you basically see that it's been down only for months. When you go to the 2-week, you now see that we had a high, we had a lower high, slightly a lower high. We had a low, had a lower low here. So as you can see, we just had lower lows and lower highs forming. That's a downtrend. So now what I'm looking for is a change to an uptrend, which would start on lower time frames, right? The lowest I'm willing to go would be the daily. So what I'd love to see is for us to, again, that's why my target was $100, because if we can meaningfully break above this $98 level and make a higher high, we can then go for a higher low on a larger time frame. But as we wait to get to the, that larger time frame, we're going to have some of these smaller moves as well. Like you can see it down here. We had a low and then we had a high. Then we had a higher low and now we have a higher high. So now we're going to make a higher low before we make the ultimate higher high, right? All the way up here. So that's why you see me kind of like, in the short term, maybe we get a little pullback. I'd love for Bitcoin to push, have one more push into 67K. Maybe that drags up the market a little bit. Maybe that, results in a lick sweep for Solana. Short term, we pull it back and then we continue. I mean, that's what an uptrend is. It's a series of higher lows and higher highs, right? So that means price is going to go up and price is going to go down. So that's all it is. Crypto Jones, we're at a point in the cycle where things are decoupled from Bitcoin PA, real value showing itself. When people rotate out of Ansem, do you think we get a meme season or is it utility time? Interesting questions here, Crypto Jones. Yeah, I do agree with you here on the Bitcoin PA take. I really think that a lot of things are starting to break away from Bitcoin. I mean, you look at stuff like Hyperliquid, that's been pretty much, for all intents and purposes, kind of up only despite what's happening with Bitcoin. We're seeing spots of relative strength in WorldCoin for a while. XPL, Jupe is also looking fantastic and not giving me any entries on that. I missed the 8-hour SFP that formed here at 20 cents, but not giving anyone room to position. But Jupe is looking fantastic. That's looking like it has a lot of relative strength. Ondo looks a little bit ready for a push. Still waiting on Grass to kind of make a decision. It's been kind of, me and Dom actually got into a little bit of an argument, not an argument, but like, a little bit of a debate on, what's going on with Grass. Because, the TA tells me that, there's a couple SFPs that have formed, like the 3-day SFP. Well, I guess that SFP was, that wasn't really technically, that was more so kind of invalidated. So that's not even an SFP really, but the fact still remains, it's going into range highs, and I believe there's a daily bearish order block here. So running into some resistance here on Grass, so I was hesitant to go into a long, but this has still been looking super, super strong going up. Near protocol also bouncing pretty hard. And I don't know if you guys saw Aave. For whatever reason, like Aave's like, I mean, it's about to be up 2x off the Pico bottom here soon. It's up 70%. So we officially up 2x when it hits $1. I mean, when it hits 118. So Aave has been doing well. And then I don't know if you guys also saw Lit. I'm sure like that has been on your timeline. We talked about Lit all the way back here. Remember when Rambo was in the audience, because Rambo's the one that had the long thesis. We've been talking about Lit in the Discord a lot. And and their connection with, people like Robinhood and stuff like that. So Lit is also another one that just plainly isn't really respecting the overall Bitcoin PA. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Crypto Jones. A lot of tokens are finding their own footing despite what Bitcoin is doing. Let's see. You asked, when people rotate out of Ansem, do you think we get a meme season or a utility season? I mean, let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about the Ansem token. Let's talk a little bit, about what's been going on there, because there's a lot happening. I'm seeing that Ansem, not only is he like involved on the meme coin side of things, but he's also involved in utility. I mean, we saw him, he's bullish on Claw Pump, he's bullish on Claw Pump, he's bullish on Squire. I think they're supposed to get the Squire guys onto their show. So yeah, like there's a lot of interesting things happening with there the Ansem token. Let me actually pull that one up real quick. Let me pull up the chart. And that thing is just going. All right, here's the Ansem chart. And this thing is acting like like a major, low key. Yeah, so I think there's there is going to be like a bifurcation of liquidity. Like some is going to go into utility, some is going to go into memes. If I'm like someone trading right now, like I'm just a utility guy. Like I love memes. I trade memes. I think they're great for portfolio growth. I think they have a place in someone's portfolio, but I know that with my personal edge, I like utility because I just have an eye for just, just good quality tokens. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think there is going to be some capital that rotates into meme coins, but here's the thing. Ansem is very bullish on directing, or he's very keen on directing the attention that he gets from the Ansem token and directing that to proper protocols, proper utility projects. We covered that thesis that he had on it last week, and that's essentially what he said. He's basically like, hey, look, this is how I'm going to do it. And he's even like discouraging some of the other meme coin activities. Like we saw him and TJR kind of say, hey, look, it's just Ansem. Like just buy Ansem. Don't buy the other like orangey coins or any of the other types of coins. Just buy the Ansem token and focus on that alone. So I think for what it's worth, he's going to try to limit the amount of liquidity that like just buys up just all these other random memes. And I think he's going to kind of push a basket of memes to the timeline, but largely try to direct that capital to more meaningful projects. I mean, look at his tweet here. He actually did a quick update today. He's basically going to add liquidity, and but here's what's really interesting. He says, stop sending me large supply of new coins attempting to vamp existing ones off attention. If it's something novel, then just airdrop supply to all Ansem holders. That's actually a pretty crazy little cheat code there, because essentially Ansem holders now become kind of, the de facto people to send supply to. And he's encouraging people, hey, like stop like launching all these like new things to vamp. Like let's just not do that anymore. Let's just focus on Ansem. And hey, if you want to airdrop something, just airdrop it to the Ansem holders. We also see him. He's like doing TikToks. He said, if anyone knows the best way to set up online quests for holders with different protocols, please let me know. He's trying to like really like fully push Ansem into the he's trying to put Ansem into as many protocols, as many places as possible without vamping and distracting attention from the main token to something different. So I think that's something that I really like about what Ansem is doing with the Ansem token. There was something else as well that he mentioned that I wanted to show you guys. It was this video here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I have to reshare my screen so you guys can actually hear the audio from this. But here is, let me pull my screen. Let me pull my screen up here. Here it is. Dude, I have my terminals open. That's why. Oops. Let me close some of that stuff out. All right. So here's this here's this video of this older guy. And I guess a lore on this guy. Apparently he ran up Retardio back in the day, I guess. But here's what he has to say to Ansem.
Ansem, old boy, Richard Tardio here. Congratulations on the new cryptocurrency. I gather you've spoken about onboarding 1 million new users to crypto. A noble ambition indeed. But I fear you're not yet connecting with a key demographic. White boomers. Send over a few of those coins and I shall distribute them carefully amongst London's retirement homes. Remember, the young may bring energy, but the old bring capital.
I love that. That's so hilarious. Oh man. Oh wow. So Crypto Jones, you think this is near its end? Geez Louise, that thing is up and to the right only. The volume shows a different story. The end is near, in my opinion. For the Ansem token? Really? Because I don't know. I mean, he has like, Afro Man. He has like all these he has a lot of he's really good at getting attention on this thing. We need more boomers like Josh in crypto. Oh my, no, Josh is an OG, man. Josh is an OG. Speaking of Josh, you wanted us to check out Pyth, Josh. Let me take a look at that real quick because we were actually supposed to have Pyth on last week, and something had came up. But Pyth is like another chart that reminds me of XPL. There wasn't as much hate as XPL towards the Pyth token, but it's Met. It's same thing as Met, same thing as Pyth. They basically launched and they've kind of just bled off, for various reasons. But when you look on the weekly, this is kind of the range here on the weekly that we see. So here's the range high, here's the range low. Boom. So that's the overall range there on Pyth. And so far, we've actually had this this sort of market structure break here on Pyth on the 3-day. So let's look on the daily, and essentially, I'd be looking for some sort of retest of this area before it goes up, and I'd be looking to get in somewhere here. Like here, it should kind of retest this market structure break, because essentially what this is just a flip. It's just a shift in this chart is now going from overall downtrend to starting to try to go sideways, because I mean, look at all these lows. Look at all these lows here. Lows breached, lows breached, lows breached, lows breached. This is the first low where all right, cool. Maybe we're starting to bounce. So all these lows are, we're getting breached. And now we have this market structure break. We just have to see if it can confirm a bounce in that, if it can confirm a bounce like we talked about just a moment ago, we can, and then hopefully break through this high like we talked about. Downtrends is just lower highs and lower lows. Uptrends are higher lows and higher highs. So if we can go from a downtrend, lower highs, lower lows, to an uptrend, higher lows, higher highs, this is where we can make some of the higher lows on the low time frame, right? Because this was a low, this was a high, this was a marginally higher low, and then this was a higher high. And so now I would expect a higher low to form somewhere in that market structure green box area, market structure break or green box area right here, this area of demand. So that's what we're looking like on Pyth. Pyth actually looks really good here. Oh man. What about Clash? Zappy, we're going to get to on-chain. So there's 300 of us here. Let's just talk a little bit about how the rest of this stream is going to go. So we're talking about majors and breaking news, just kind of, getting caught up with overall what's happened in markets. And in about, let's call it 10, 15 minutes, we'll start to break into on-chain. Might even do it a little sooner, depending on how much stuff that we have to cover. But we'll get into some on-chain tickers. So if there's anything that you guys want to see, Zappy, you want to see Clash, I think Josh, you wanted me to cover a little bit more about PopCats. I'll cover that on the major side. But if there's any on-chain stuff that you guys want to see, let me know. I actually have some stuff about Clash I'd like to cover today as well. So yeah, let's cover real quick. PopCat, Josh, and then we'll close out the majors and breaking news, and we'll jump right into CPX, Clash, Dot, like all these tokens that have been popping off. All right, PopCat. Let's see here. Let's go high time frame. Let's just delete all this. Let's just delete all this for PopCat. I mean, I don't know if PopCat really like comes back. I mean, would it? Probably. I mean, I'd assume that, at some point, maybe someone crimed something. Maybe we go back to OG memes. I don't know. I'd assume that, in terms of cultural relevance, stuff like Whiff and PopCat, they have like Whiff, PopCat, Fartcoin, they're all in the same bucket. They're memes from the last cycle that are completely dead right now. And I'd assume at some point there's going to be a rotation back to stuff like Fartcoin, stuff like Whiff, PopCat. But I think by the time that happens, like literally, I mean, I don't think that's the first thing to pump, in my opinion. I think liquidity will go elsewhere. So by the time it does pump, does that say that we're maybe, towards the end of a cycle? I don't really know. But what I do think is that at some point PopCat perhaps could make a comeback. It's an OG meme. It has cultural relevance. Same way that Fartcoin does. Let's call the range low and range high right here. Looks like we swept some liquidity and on the weekly, and we're headed higher. Let's look on the 2-day real quick. Yeah, I mean, it's not much happening on the PopCat chart. It's not something I'm interested in buying right this moment, but yeah, I can keep my eye on it. Some other breaking news that I wanted to touch on with you guys. Let's see. I don't know if you guys saw BNB or saw Ansem token has been basically like the highest volume on FOMO. Apparently, they said like 1% or 2% of the buyers of Ansem they bought via Apple Pay. So a lot of volume here on Ansem on FOMO. So and he's basically saying the Black Bull started the bull market. I don't know if you guys saw Solana. Solana tweeted. Solana tweeted out the bull. Solana tweeted out the bull here, the picture of a bull. I think it was like yesterday or the day before, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of people started to tweet it out as well. Man, I guess they tweet a lot, huh? It was just a little bit before this. Here you go. So you saw Solana tweeted out the bull. Everyone's talking about, everyone's now tweeting this out. Some version of this. We saw, I think it was Bybit. We saw a couple like KSEX exchange. We saw like a couple exchanges. I think I saw even Phantom, MoonPay. So obviously this got a lot of views, 2.3 million over the weekend, over the holiday weekend. So yeah, I think there's a lot of tailwind for Solana. I mean, not for Solana. I'm sorry, for the Ansem token. Michael Saylor sells Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is actually up on the day. So actually not bad here. I'm actually loving the reaction that Bitcoin had despite being despite one of the biggest bulls, Michael Saylor, selling. Let's not cover this. I can't believe he said that on stream. Let's not even talk about that. Last thing I want to talk about on the majors, guys, is this VVV situation. You guys might have seen me talk a lot about like ownership and stuff like that. Zero PopCat can't go any lower. Ansem token single-handedly propping up Solana. Yeah, low key, it's propping up on chain. But last thing I want to talk about before we get fully on chain, we'll talk about Zero, CPX, Crash. We'll talk about a few others. But first, this whole VVV situation. So I want you guys to listen to this, and I have to share. I have to reshare my screen so that way you guys can actually hear the audio of this. But notice what the Venice AI's notice what Venice AI's lead investor had to say about VVV, the token.
And Jesse went out there and they fair launched this token, and they allowed for a significant amount of price discovery. They have a very interesting model, which they've been very clear about, which is that with net new subscriptions, we buy back the token. They have never once been anything but incredibly just transparent about how they return any sort of value back to that token. And they have also never once said, hey, you have now full legal rights to, like, it's an equity, right? And if people thought that was what had happened, they were stupid, frankly, and were naive.
So he basically calls everyone that is like that bought the VVV token, that thought it had exposure to the equity side, or like, I guess, ownership of the real business. He calls them stupid and naive. I don't know. I've been very, very vocal. I mean, look, MCG as a show started off on this journey of finding why is a token valuable, what makes a token valuable. And we've seen so many different models pop up, and we've talked about all of them because we really want to see I think we really want to see, like, we really want to see crypto win, and we really want to see something good supported from a token side. And when you have the VVV token, what does it fit the token to equity structure as a quote unquote like network token, like, because you have to stake it and stuff like that? Whether that's the utility that they transparently went out there and talked about, the reality is you have buyers in the market that are willing to buy VVV, not to get exposure to any of the the inference or the credits or anything like that. But I think you had people buying the token with the expectation that this could give you access to like exposure to the business itself. And I agree with you here, Crypto Jones. VVV is a stake token to earn, is a stake to earn token. Equity isn't necessary. I also believe that equity isn't necessary, but I also think that this is now bringing to the forefront a very important conversation as to how do you make a token valuable. And when you have a token to equity structure, I mean, that is the best thing you can do for any token. I mean, imagine if think of all of the good businesses that have come up in crypto. I mean, we've seen like how things turned out with like Aave, with Uniswap, with their token, with their tokens, and how that kind of was disastrous when they tried to kind of split the value being accrued to equity side and VCs and whatnot versus the token holder side. And it surprises me that a lot of people, they don't know that ACE rounds are a thing. They don't know that MetaDAO and ownership tokens are a thing. We literally have seen, we've been around for the start of MetaDAO. We've literally covered every part of their ecosystem. We've covered almost every ACE round token. We've covered every ownership model from Street to Soar to all of the others. We've talked about, everything that has to do with these token to equity models. And from what I understand and how all of these conversations have played out, token holders don't feel comfortable in your token if the equity and the token is split apart. VVV, in my opinion, is a little bit different because of the utility behind it, but it does bring to light this important conversation, this huddle moment that this entire industry needs to have. We all need to come together and make this a standard, because let's be frank, most tokens that have launched, they don't need a token. All you needed was the product and to come out with that. But the token helped with, things like fundraising, VCs, marketing, distribution. The token acted as that distribution layer to get these products off the ground. The problem is these token holders that originally support these ideas oftentimes get left behind. And so that's why token equity models, ownership models are so, so important. Let's make this an industry standard. Let's do that right now. And if we do, crypto will once again become the place for great, innovative, cutting edge ideas that no one else believes in. And instead of being, gate kept by the predatory VCs or the middlemen that don't believe in you, come to the market, come to the community, and tell us what you're building, and you can raise capital on decentralized rails. And we've seen it where founders have been able to quit their jobs. They've been able to drop out of school. We even saw in the case of Pumpcade, he quit his job right after he had a baby, right, to pursue an idea that he thought was revolutionary, and now it's being confirmed and validated, that idea. And so I think it's a really beautiful thing. It's a beautiful story that that crypto is now kind of forming. It's in the early stages of this story playing out. But just like we saw the Dogecoin millionaire back in the 2021 cycle, that became a huge story. That became a huge onboarding event. Meme coin trading became a thing because of that huge story. Now, I think the big story for this cycle will be, that founder that quit school or quit his job to pursue an idea. He got crowdsourced funding on decentralized rails, and now he's a big shot founder with a good product, and his product has been validated, and it's truly innovative and providing some sort of value, some sort of real world value. So yeah, I think that's a very important thing for us to all kind of just come together and talk about as an industry. I think that's a clip. Appreciate you, Crypto Jones. I think that's a clip right there. Let me take that clip down for the boys. Let's make sure they get that one clipped up and sent out. What about DOT? Heard that it is better than VVV. Zappy, do you have a DOT thesis by any chance? You can DM it to me. DM it to me on Twitter if you can, or like put it in the comments or something like that. Let's see here. Keep telling y'all I got y'all. Okay, yeah. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's transition into some on-chain stuff, shall we? I think that's the move from here. Let's transition into some on-chain stuff. Let's go back and first off, let's start with CPX, huh? I think that's the best place we can start. Let's start with CPX, and then we can start to go through a few other things, because I think CPX is in a very, very interesting position here. So I wrote a thesis on CPX the other day. Hey Zappy, actually before I talk about CPX, Zappy, if you can join our Discord and send the link to me in Discord, in the general chat in Discord. I keep telling you, that's the best place to reach out to me. I'm in the Discord all the time. I literally I'm there, right? So hit me up in the Discord. Send the link there, and I'll pull it up on stream. But yeah, so going back to CPX. CPX pretty much right now is the face of the EZA ecosystem, in my opinion. You have a revolutionary product. You have a goated founder. She has a great resume. She has a good good experience. And then beyond that, you have EZA overall. Their ecosystem looks like they're literally all the time. The man doesn't sleep. I'm telling you guys, I'm there all day, every day. Hit me up. Hit us up in there. But yeah, apparently EZA had this to say earlier today. They said new launches coming soon. You won't want to sleep this week. Very, very interesting. It looks like they have some things lined up. And we obviously saw that EZA, them as a launch pad, they attracted a lot of ecosystem attention recently, with the likes of, CPX, VSK, and a few others. I'd actually love to see exactly how they're doing from a launchpad standpoint as of late. Let's take a quick look at the Launchpad breakdown in terms of market share and see what's up. All right, let's see here. So here is the Jupiter terminal kind of Launchpad breakdown. You have Pump Fun, Let's Bonk, Bags. Surprised that Bags is number 4, actually. Very surprising. Maybe because of PO. I think PO this week. That was I think that drove a lot of volume. Let's look at their 7-day. Let's look at their 7-day. Let's see. Easy A is number 7. Let's do it 30-day. Easy A is number 6. Okay. Very, very interesting. Very interesting here. So basically, you have a top launch pad in the space. They had a lot of volume. They have a lot of interest in the they had a lot of interest um in the ecosystem itself. And then basically here is your your number one token in the eco. So with the backdrop of them kind of ramping up launches, they're already a top launch pad, and they already have they still have more market share to eat at. But I think in terms of fundamentals, there's a lot of good fundamentals around the different projects that are launching there. So this could capture a lot of attention and volume. And just to show you the types of projects that you can see on EZA, CPX is a really good example. They're basically building an AWS. You can kind of just not exactly that, but you can kind of like put that as a one-liner to kind of help it make sense. But the founder is an engineer at Oracle, not ex Oracle, at Oracle right now. The last startup raised 300 mil. Now I do have to clarify on this. The last startup, she wasn't the founder of this last startup, but she was a part of the team. And obviously they raised 300 mil. The token has a flywheel. She talked about being open to an ace round. To me, that makes anything that has a token to equity structure, for me, that just makes a lot of sense. You can add you can add some of this extra stuff, right? Like, buybacks, utility and stuff like that. But when you have an ace round, a token to equity structure, or if you're like an ownership token, like, man, like that to me it just elevates that token in terms of quality of investment. This was crazy too. She works with an 86 agent dev team. So she's a solo founder, but she leads 86 agents on her developer team, which is actually pretty crazy. Basically, to summarize all of this is CPX sits on top of all the different marketplaces for compute, right? So you have the surpluses, the Squires, the whoever else. There's a lot of these different marketplaces popping up right now, and each one has an edge. Like, I think Squire for me is like one that I'm personally really bullish on. But CPX essentially sits above all of these, right? Sits above all of these marketplaces, and then it allows for their auto router. It's called Capix OX. Is basically a router that routes workloads to the appropriate resource. So, it can auto route tasks to inference, compute, or quantum stack based on what needs to be done. Obviously, every workload isn't going to be heavy. So sometimes maybe it just needs a CPU versus a GPU, or maybe it needs a quantum stack, right? So it all depends and on the workload, but that auto routing feature that happens makes the platform cheaper, faster, more efficient, and more convenient than traditional centralized options. And one thing I didn't include in here is that basically it also makes it to where you don't have to go into each decentralized kind of marketplace and choose for yourself. That's what I mean by more convenient. You don't have to go in and choose. It'll automatically route to the best place for what you're trying to do as a developer. On top of that, they also have solutions for Web 2 enterprises where they can handle some of their non-critical workloads, and they have like regular fiat onboarding for those Web 2 enterprises as well. They got some buybacks going. Part of it will go to the treasury, part of it, small piece of it will go to grants, but half of revenue goes to the buybacks, and 43% of the supply is locked. That's crazy. And so far, I believe a decent portion. So 43% of supply is locked. So basically, that's all to say that with the value accrual with the ACE round, it goes to the token. The value accrual with the buybacks is based on usage. So the growth of the company will equal the growth of the token itself, right? And price appreciation. So yeah, I mean, just overall, I think CPX is a really good idea of what an ecosystem like EZA has to offer. Especially given that, she's a legit founder with a legit background. Oh, Zappy, you're already in. All right. Send it through the general chat and just tag me, and send it through the gen chat and tag me, and I'll make sure we cover it. Dom said new EZA launch. Let's check. We're already on EZA Kickstart. Let's see. So it looks like they're live somewhere. Late Night on Base. Presented by Black Boy. Did Ansem pay him or something? Here we go. Congratulations, Build Coldstar. Build your own hardware. Its founder recently won our Kickstart pitch day. Ace Hackathon winner. Interesting. All right, let's see. I'm gonna let Grok do a lot of the digging, some of the live DD for us. Let me do this actually as well, because I want to be able to. Like search while Grok does his thing. So let's see. Grok, tell me what Coldstar is, the problem they are trying to fix, and tell me about the background of the founder. Please include accomplishments, previous ventures, capital raised, and sectors they have experience in. All right. So while we wait for Grok to help us with that, let's just look real quick. It looks like they're on the Solana mobile dApp store. Okay, that's cool. They locked some tokens. Won the EZA pitchathon. It was a 60-second pitch. Okay. Introducing. Okay. Coldstar submitting EZA hackathon. All right. So not much to go off of in terms of like their Twitter page. Let's look at their website real quick. Next infrastructure for next generation of Solana by Chain Labs Technologies. Built for Seeker, cold signing in 3 steps, air-gapped self-custody, flash any USB drive, turn any USB stick into a disposable RAM-only cold wallet, no $200 advice, no vendor lock-in, sign via QR code. Your air-gapped device signs transactions offline. Private keys are decrypted only in memory and never touch the internet. Okay, so basically any device, any USB device can turn into an off-chain cold wallet storage, and it's saying that it never touches the internet. Ultra fast, one tap onboarding, native. So I guess they also have an app for this as well. I like the fact, off rip, I do like the no $200 advice. I think that tends to be a barrier for some people. So I like that. keys are decrypted in memory. Any USB device becomes a cold wallet. Jupiter swaps, best price for swaps, cross chain or cross platform. Open source, the signing path is open and audible. Verify exactly what touches your keys. Don't take our word for it. Let's see, built for everyone. Okay. So they're launching now. They have secret integration coming. Ecosystem integrations. Okay. All right. I mean, okay. Okay. Let's see if there's anything cool about the founder. So the open source tech is good because we can actually see that it's real. So yeah, it looks like they're just trying to basically create cheaper hardware for cold storage. That's really what this is. You get a USB drive, you sign it, and yeah, it looks okay. So let's look at this. The founder is let's see. Looks like Grok found some stuff about the founder. So appears to match. So his name may be Ray Akhtar, but obviously this is Grok, so we got to give it some room for error. Sector experience, cybersecurity, digital forensics, secure system development. Founder of Chain Lab Technologies, Ace Hackathon winner, EZA Pitchathon winner. Capital raised, no public info on that. Innovative, accessible approach to Solana self-custody that prioritize openness, low cost, and minimal key exposure over traditional hardware wallets. Okay. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. It looks like a really good project. Looks like a good project. So that's the new EZA launch. I'd love to see. I think for me, I need to see a little bit of traction. All right, like if there's like some signups for this, or they already have products sold, or like user base. But they already have good groundwork laid from what it seems like anyway. They've laid a solid groundwork for themselves in terms of integrating into the Solana Seeker phone, things of that nature. So okay, not bad, not a bad launch. Let's look at the rest of the EZA eco. Let's see. All right, so let me pull it up here. Oh no, they didn't load all of my my chart settings. Let me refresh. Load my chart settings. There we go. Awesome. So this is the CPX chart. Not too bad. If it comes down and touches this like 1 mil mark, I would love to DCA that. So this will be a DCA point for me if it comes down to this to that level. But CPX looks really good chart wise. And Recto is a new launch. VSK chart does not look the best. I know you guys were asking about that. Crypto Jones, you asked about VSK looks bottomed out. Are you bullish? I need to know a little bit more. So basically what happened with VSK is they decided to pivot a little bit into another they decided to not into a completely different product, but they wanted to pivot into something different. Maybe it was a different approach or what have you. I don't really have the details on that, and they say that they'll come out with details. So they're Harvard grads, so they have really great really great like fundamentals and stuff like that. But the part that I need to know a little bit more about is exactly what are they pivoting into. And maybe we look at that real quick. Maybe I see if there's anything that came out on VSK, because for me at least it um seems like they were still in the pivot. So here's a friend of the show, Maru. He says, nice to see the demo geopolitical risk AI terminal, the first incubated project on EZA Kickstart. Two founders from Harvard University have experience with NATO. Nice. CSIS and a few others. Um, when was this from? July 5th. This was yesterday. The hardest part of geopolitical risk is foresight, not just knowing what happened, but understanding what could happen next and what it could mean for your business. It is a hard problem. Geopolitics is messy, uncertain, complicated, but that is exactly why we're taking it on. So that's exactly what they were before. Is this like risk intelligence? Like what basically they'll have an AI that scans all the things that happen, throughout the world. And if there's something that could affect your business, maybe you have a shipping business and there's like supply chains, or there's news about the freaking Strait of Hormuz being closed or open that would affect your business. You can now you don't have to use all these obscure methods to keep up with that. You actually have now a terminal that will just basically scan all that information for your business, and you can now kind of make more informed decisions. But they were the ones that kind of said that they were pivoting into something. And the last thing that we watched on stream was the video that the founder came out with that basically said, hey, more info coming soon. Let me show you guys, actually. This was the video that we watched. And basically he says, hey, look, we're doing something a little different, but we'll let you guys know. And we talked about that a little bit. Okay, so it looks like he said, quick update on where we're at. Over the past few weeks, we've had a lot of conversations with people working in and around geopolitical risk. One thing has become clear: showing data isn't enough. Plenty of companies already do that. The real challenge is finding the data that actually matters. That's what we're building Varsco around. Supply the proprietary intelligence companies can easily get anywhere else more soon. So that's what I understood from their quote unquote pivot. They basically said that they were doing something a little bit more deeper in the geopolitical risk space, but didn't really know what exactly that was. It looks like now we have a little bit more clarity on that. It's just a different type of tooling. And apparently, like he said, data isn't enough. There's a piece of the solution that essentially they were missing, and they're going back to kind of input that solution in there. So looks like they had this demo. The hardest part of geopolitical risk is foresight. So I guess that is the part of the intelligence, or the part of the solution that they want to bring forth as well, is a little bit more about not only the presenting the risk, the data, the information, but also tapping into foresight and what potentially could go wrong. And it looks like this is a nice little demo here of what they're doing. So you can basically like generate these reports, I guess. Okay, solid. I need to see a little bit more though. I need to see them say, hey, like this is our MVP, this is our main product, this is how many businesses that we have lined up to use it. So very, very early stage, but stuff that we can all just kind of keep our eye on, right? To see if there's anything there. Let's see here. What else do we got? Let's go back to, I think that's pretty much it for the EZA Eco. I think that's pretty much it for that. Let's start with our core utility stuff. Let's see how utility is doing overall. Squire, nice little bounce over the weekend. Not looking too bad. Still up from our original positioning down here. Looks really, really good. What else do we have? Clued getting closer and closer to my level, but not quite there just yet. Let's see if we ever tap my level. Opal is kind of getting into the pivot zone here. Looks like this down channel is just kind of got invalidated a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we're kind of tapping this pivot zone in here. I've been kind of watching that one on Opal. So interested to see if it interested to see the reaction here in this pivot in this box. TCG is looking good. TCG looks like we've been covering this one since like 1.5 mil. But this one is actually pretty decent here. You know, it looks like it's about to get ready for a bounce, right? Like it looks like it's ready for a bounce. Any projects that you guys want to go into? Somebody had said something earlier that we should go into. CPX. Who else was it? Yeah, it was Zero and something Clash. Zero and Clash. Okay. So let's talk about those for a second, yeah? So over the weekend, over the last couple of days, we saw, Zero go from, pivot entry to a nice little clean 6.5x. I basically told you guys that, this is the entry that I'd go for. Recent all-time high retest, pivot entry. And I don't even think the fib really matters in here because this retraced pretty decent. And I basically told you guys that down here, you should be looking for, like, is there something like fundamental wise? And basically he dropped a white paper. And apparently there were some claims that he was making that kind of sparked a lot of conversation on CT. So so here is the nice little entry here on Zero, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what is pushing price. I know generally that's what it was, but I wanted to see if there's anything in particular. Yeah, we can talk about Fraudsworth. We actually had Fraudsworth on our stream, Nicholas Anderson 9019. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, we can definitely talk about Fraudsworth. I'm going through a few that I'm kind of like backlogging. So here's where we are. Some people requested Zero, Clash, ICPX, and now Fraudsworth. So I'll just kind of like go in that order. If there's anything else that you guys want us to cover, just let me know. But yeah, it looks like Zero. Let's see. So let's go to Leighton because he's actually been saying a few things here. Many people don't know that 75% of Zero stakers auto compound their rewards. To bring more attention to this, I've added 3 more charts to the data page. So let's look at Leighton's profile. Follow the boy back. And let's see here. So it looks like they went live with their roadmap. And this had a lot of impressions, huh? So I think this is what was like another driver of price. So a few things to flag here. Compute. So they have almost 4 million tokens generated. Here's the network token generated per day. That's kind of cooled down a little bit here. One thing that hasn't cooled down is the users. I mean, just, a couple weeks ago, they were at like 200 users. Now they're at 2,000. 10x growth in users in a month. That's actually not bad. I mean, it's a little bit more than 10x because like a month ago it was 54 users, right? Like on 6.7. And now, we're at 2,351 users. So still decent in terms of in terms of user growth. Revenue has been ticking up as well. Cumulative deposits going up. USDC paid out, so people are actually getting paid. That's going up as well. Staking rewards are going up. Buybacks are going up. Wow. So a couple of these metrics are looking pretty good. Auto compounding. So it looks like, yeah, like you said, 74% of people auto compound and restake. This actually looks pretty good. Wow. I'm not. So I wish I would have taken a look at this. I was already comfy in the bags that I had, so I wasn't really like in a rush to bid zero. But this actually looks pretty good. This actually looks pretty good as far as some of the network metrics, really good. So I'm assuming metrics. They dropped the roadmap, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they also dropped their first technical report. Here it is. We ran a 229-bit model split across 5 consumer GPUs in 5 countries over the public internet. So I guess this is basically their first test case. Let's see. Every stage signs hash request. We measure what protects costs. We ran a test where we kill 9 the coordinator mid generation 4 replacement. Each decode steps. All right, let me I'm trying to see exactly. Okay, let's all right. So I'm asking Grok this question so I can kind of get a sense of like, all right, like exactly why is this bullish? Like we know they're building private AI compute. Like, is this test case? I'm assuming this test case just allows them to do like the sharded inference, I believe is what he was calling it on the on our show. He basically kind of mentioned that you know, they want to distribute distribute compute across different like providers or what have you. So this first test case could have just been literally the first proof of concept for them. Distributed AI inference and training has one major disadvantage over centralized AI. It runs over the internet. These models are massive, requiring huge amounts of high-speed data transfer to train and to efficiently serve inference. While 00 tacked blockchain and market data first, distributed AI is very much something we're building for. If you're building these distributed AI, latency or data movement is an issue, let's talk. Okay, so who is this guy? Co-founder of 00. Okay. Nice. So he gets some flowers there. This post is very technical, so I decided to explain it in simpler terms so everyone can be as hyped as me. We're extremely close to having shard run over the compute network at scale. For the past few years, decentralized inference basically meant pedals. Lower bit model, not really usable at scale. With the sharded inference, they can now do a higher bit model, use more GPUs all across the world, and just use internet. That is around 12x improvement in interactive inference, not a small optimization. And this was the real constraint: scattered nodes, public internet, untrusted stages, and verification enabled. If a node skips work, the request fails and it does not get paid. That verification only costs 0.4%. They also killed the coordinator mid-generation, and the system recovered without reloading 115 gigabytes of weights. A new coordinator finished the request on the same warm ring. The network routes real inference through nodes that are fast, reliable, and verifiable. Your gaming GPU can become a part of actual AI infrastructure. When Shard plugs into Compute's worker, API, and payment network, Zero becomes exposure to the best verified open inference protocol currently in existence. Insane. Wow, that's pretty crazy. The report provides concrete proof that Compute's sharded inference engine with cryptographic verification can deliver practical performance for large models under real decentralized constraints. It significantly strengthens the protocol's technical foundation, roadmap credibility, and potential for growth. It's one of the more substantive public demonstrations of in the decentralized AI inference space to date. Wow. Okay. So yeah, so I guess that's why price pushed so well. I mean, that was a lot to kind of like dig into and get a sense of, but that's pretty insane. That's pretty insane for Zero, because down here you had like a lot of down in these like lower levels, you had a lot of FUD that came out, FUD about the founder and this and that. And he kind of said it on our show. Basically said like, hey, look, I'm just trying to build something great. I'm trying to do something that, people actually care about. And so, people are calling him, a scammer and this and that, but he's like, I'm really out here trying to build something innovative. And, I guess he has, from, basically what their first report says. For a cool off, I'd probably be looking for a, for this green line here. 0.7862. So yeah, like around 3.5 mil retest. I'm assuming it would kind of like form a low right here. So, kind of come down, consolidate, and then go higher. Cool. Yeah, higher market cap might be a bit overpriced at this very moment. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, pullback kind of makes sense here, especially after a huge, massive run from basically was 10x off the bottom. 10x off the bottom. All right, what else do we want to talk about? DOT. I don't have a DOT thesis, so real quick, I'm gonna just hit Fraudsworth. Because I'm pretty sure we can easily find a thesis. So basically with Fraudsworth, it was we talked about Fraudsworth before. Yeah, we did an interview with Fraudsworth, back in, what was this, April, I believe? March. Yeah, it was April actually. So this is basically what Fraudsworth is. Solving for inflation was a key. So basically, like, you have these two tokens, crime and fraud, that incentivize volumes. The taxes on each change, which causes like the spread to flip. So let me go to the Fraudsworth website and I can better explain it there. Fraudsworth. All right. So here is the analytics page for Fraudsworth. So basically you have these two tokens up here at the top, crime and fraud. And from my understanding in chat, you guys can kind of like correct me on this. Yeah, we had him on a few times for sure. I think we've definitely had him on since April. But yeah, Nicholas, so can I talk about Fraudsworth? Yeah, so Fraudsworth basically is this protocol where, you have these two tokens, crime and fraud, and every single epoch, or after a certain amount of hours, let's call it like 8 or 12 hours, as you can see right here, the current epoch is about to change. When the epoch changes in 2 minutes, the price of crime and fraud will change. And right now, crime is cheaper. Or rather, crime is more expensive than fraud. But like, notice the taxes. So basically, there are taxes on each token, crime and fraud, that incentivize the buying or selling of each token. So when you look at crime, you notice that it's only 1% to buy, but it's 11% fee to sell. And so the incentive is to buy crime. Now on the opposite end, you know, the fee to buy fraud is 12% and the fee to sell is 3%. So there is this like sort of incentive structure to buy and sell certain these tokens at certain times, because either through the crime or the fraud tokens, the price changes, which cause bots to basically kind of like arbitrage these two things. Um, and that's basically what it is. It's just these like two tokens. They differ in price. They have an incentive to buy and sell. And basically, what happens is they have an incentive to buy and sell. And basically, what happens is like as that volume comes in, whatever volume that generates, a lot of that actually goes to buying and burning the main token profit. And I'm pretty sure that's a little bit of how like just overall how it usually goes. And I think there was a yeah, so that's kind of what we talked about. um so you have the taxes on each crime and fraud, they change and they cause a spread. So when the taxes flip, this drives volume via arbitrage bots to kind of arb the difference of those two prices between crime and fraud. Like those prices, they try to stay the same. And so when those prices are sometimes different, then you know there's going to be bots that arb the prices back to you know, parity or back to the same price. 71% of taxes go to profit stakers, 24% go to the Carnage Fund, 5 go to the protocol. And he basically had this talk about the the MILF fund, the Market Intelligence Liquidity Fund is what he calls it. And we went through all of this during the live, but it's I wonder what like key updates they've had over the last few, because I know they won they won the Coliseum hackathon before, but I wonder if there's any like recent threads that kind of talk a little bit about what they're doing here. So here's a more recent read of what Broadsworth really is. The protocol consists of a system of interconnected assets that generate trading activity, collect fees, and distribute value back to participants. Rather than relying on token emissions, the factory creates a self-reinforcing cycle where market activity itself becomes the source of rewards. In its current form, this is achieved through a combination of asymmetric taxes, arbitrage opportunities, fee generation, buybacks, and token burns. Let me see how long this is. This is a little bit long, huh? Yeah, a lot of it long. Let's go to a Grok summary real quick, just for the sake of it. V1 uses 30-minute random incentive shifts for arbitrage, directing SOL rewards to profit stakers and capital to Carnage Fund for buy and burn. V2 launches MILF for weekly market intelligence to allocate liquidity between SOL and USDC based on participant sentiment. I remember he was saying that, you know, depending on like the liquidity that you can, depending on like the liquidity pair that you have, you can limit some of the downside for certain prices. V3 expands via permissionless Futarchy markets to add new assets, pools, and strategies through collective intelligence. Profit holders gain exposure by buying and staking to receive SOL rewards from the self-reinforcing wheel. So yeah, they're a self-sustained ecosystem. They mentioned that they're not building on any other DEX, right? Like not on Pump Swap or not on Pump Swap or on not on Pump Swap or any of the or Meteora. They built their own liquidity so they can own all their rewards, and then through that, you know, they're able to build this like self-reinforcing cycle. And this market intelligence liquidity fund, you know, again, you can shift the liquidity to allocate between Sol and USDC to reduce a lot of the volatility. But here's the end game. V1 is capturing value. V2 is about allocating it. V3 is about scaling that process beyond a single market. The long-term vision is to allow new assets, liquidity pools, and allocation opportunities to be added to the factory through permissionless, market-driven decision-making. Rather than relying on a core team to determine what should be integrated next, participants can use Futarchy markets to evaluate and approve new opportunities. Over time, this expands the scope of the factory beyond simply managing allocations between Sol and USDC. At that, so new markets, liquidity, allocation strategies. Each of those decisions can be guided by Futarchy through the Mill Fund. The factory begins to reassemble something much larger than a traditional DeFi protocol. Instead of operating as a collection of fixed products, it evolves into a system capable of continually evaluating opportunities, allocating capital, and adjusting to changes. How the flywheel comes together. The easiest way to think about the factory is how it's creating more values for profit holders. V1 lays the foundation. The system creates opportunities, captures value from the market activity, and directs a portion of the value back to profit stakers through Sol rewards. At the same time, the Carnage Fund accumulates capital that can be deployed to reduce supply and create new opportunities for the ecosystem. V2 builds on top of that foundation. Instead of allowing all arbitrage profits to leave the ecosystem, more of the value is captured internally and redirected into the factory. The MILF Fund then uses collective market intelligence to determine, if they should allocate between Sol or USDC. This means the factory is no longer generating value; it is actively attempting to compound it. V3 expands the opportunity set even further as new assets, pools, markets get introduced. Factory gains access to additional sources of growth. Rather than being limited to a single strategy or market, capital can be deployed wherever participants collectively believe the best opportunities exist. In every successful cycle, the result is a flywheel where each component strengthens the others. More activity creates more value. More value gives the Mill Fund more capital to allocate. Better conditions, better allocations increase the resources controlled by the factory. More resources create additional opportunities. From my all the value will flow back to profit. It isn't simply exposed to one mechanism. It's exposed to an entire ecosystem of mechanisms that are designed to reinforce one another. The better factory becomes at capturing value, allocating capital, and identifying new opportunities, the greater the benefit to profit holders. Okay. So that's base. So here's what I get from that. So you have this self-sustaining ecosystem, right? This ecosystem because before you would need a constant inflow of capital in order to keep something like this going. But what he's saying is, hey, look, we don't need that. We have certain activities that can drive volume. And we saw this just happened, the crime and the fraud tokens, it was buy crime was 2% and then to sell was 11. So now they're incentivized to sell crime. So these disparities, these differences in prices basically cause, arbitrage bots to come in and get volume. And what he's saying is, at some point, they're going to come in and, provide and kind of arb this themselves and keep all of that value within the protocol. They're allowing the community, I believe, from what he mentioned in one of the interviews, to kind of create these community bots to be able to arb value. But a lot of that value that's derived through that arbitrage activity leaves the ecosystem. So what he's saying is, let's create an arbitrage bot that keeps value within the ecosystem, and then they can use the other iterations to then allocate where that value goes, compound it, and now the ecosystem is completely growing, and everyone that holds profit will essentially benefit from this activity. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's some buy and burns for profit as well. So I'm not really sure. I have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure there's a buy and burn mechanism. Um, there's a buy and burn mechanism there for profit. Let's do analytics, protocol analytics. Let's do protocol analytics real quick. So trading volume, when the trading volume went up, notice the date on this. Let's go to all. Notice the date on this, 4/6. When the trading volume was up on 4/6, notice what happened to the token, 4/6. So remember, 4/6, April 6th. So the day that they had a ton of volume come in, this spike price went from, basically like, sub a mil to 9 mil. 9 mil. So, and this chart actually looks really good. I gotta say that too. This chart actually looks pretty solid here on profit. But basically, so no growth catalyst. This is the growth catalyst, Crypto Jones. So the Carnage Fund, from what I remember, basically it's named Carnage because it kind of creates that chaotic activity that led to this April 6th event. Basically, this Carnage Fund, it'll accumulate, SOL based on the activity within the ecosystem. And then every so often, this Carnage Fund would just go in and buy up a ton of crime or a ton of fraud. And it would cause this, this huge disparity between the price of the two. And arbitragers would basically have to come in and arb all of that entire price difference back to parity, or back to where it was, right? Back to equal prices. And so that caused a lot of APR for to be generated for profit. But I wonder again, like, let me just ask Grok about this. I'm pretty sure there's a buy and burn mechanism for profit. Let's see. Actually, let me go to the docs real quick. Let me go to the docs. Docs. Here's the docs here. 71% of profits go to stakers, right? The Carnage Fund is what we were talking about. It randomly detonates. So it randomly kind of like comes in, buys it. Yep. So here it is. So the Carnage Fund, when it goes off, it randomly buys and burns crime or fraud. It creates that disparity in price, and that needs to be arbed back together. So arbitrage bots would come in and arb that back together, and a lot of the rewards would go straight to crime, a lot of the rewards would go straight to profit. Now, the part here that is really interesting is the not circulating supply, but the staking. How much of the supply is staked? Is it 80%? Yeah, total staked is 80%. So that's what happens, Crypto Jones, is when this Carnage Fund comes in and it breaks up this when it comes in and it creates this price disparity, the staking APR goes crazy because of the amount of rewards that it generates for profit stakers. And because that goes crazy, that creates an influx of buying activity or buying volume for profit so people can take advantage of the staking yield. The problem is because 80% of the max circulating supply is staked, a lot that creates a sort of supply shock situation. And as you know from there, price is the best marketing, right? So I remember from our last interview, I mean, this has been 70% plus for a long, long time. Sometimes I wonder if I should just buy some profit and just stake it and just let it chill for a while. Sometimes I wonder if I should do that. But yeah, I mean, look, really, I like Fraudsworth, and obviously them winning the Coliseum hackathon. That's a really big plus. That's a really big plus, because it kind of validates that um, that they're doing something, something solid. Let's see. Let's see. So here it is. Super team, members wins number 7. Looks like Coliseum announced their largest accelerator batch so far with 15 out of 21 teams cooking in Super Team Kitchen. As you can see, Frodsworth is right here. These teams have received a $250,000 investment and have become a part of the Coliseum Batch 5. Member wins. Let's see. Is there a Frodsworth announcement here? Yeah. So we see that. I wonder, like, what? Let me ask Grok real quick. No, not a summary. I want to ask you a question. Grok. Can I ask you a question on this, please? Let me ask you a quick little question on this. How will Frodsworth benefit from this win? And we'll leave it at that. Yeah. So you there's no reason to buy them. Like, to buy them, Crypto Jones, to buy crime or fraud, like there's that's not what you should be doing. Essentially you buy profit and stake profit to get upside on the entire ecosystem. Yeah. Let me see something real quick, because he actually so yeah, in-house arbitrage, protocol owned liquidity pools. This can actually get kind of stupid. Yeah. Yeah, you can't even buy them. Nicholas Anderson, yeah, there's buys and burns and huge buyback mechanism for crime fraud through their carnage mechanism, which causes massive differences in price between crime and fraud and incentivizes arbors. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, really nice stuff. I want to just get an idea on what other outside of the 250K investment, what other like ways do they benefit from the win. Says as part of batch 5, the UK-based team gained structure, guidance, resources, connections, which has helped alumni raise hundreds of millions overall, plus networking opportunities, ecosystem exposure, visibility. Okay, so network. They got an additional network here along with that. All right, cool. Nice one, Josh. Nice one. The Coliseum win of 250K on Frodsworth helps get contracts audited, and maybe those custom AMMs can get listed by Jupiter. Oh, and that's how they get on a terminal. I see. So because I don't know if you guys know, but you can't buy this on a terminal. You can't buy profit on a terminal. And so that kind of creates this barrier for entry for profit, which to me has always been like a really bullish thing about profit itself. So yeah, looks good. I like Frodsworth here. And again, just like looking at the chart real quick, this chart actually looks pretty bullish. This chart, like on the daily here, looks really bullish. Let's go to the 4-hour real quick. I mean, because again, like this isn't like there's not a lot of volume. People aren't actively trading this. Why? Because 80% of the supply is staked, and there's not really like, there's not really, much people that are paying attention, which is ironically the time when, we come in and get a position in, because I think this can actually get pretty stupid, and it's only up like what 2x off this overall bottom here. Yeah, over this recent bottom. It's only up like barely 2x. So not bad. Profit looks really good here. I actually might put that on the list. Might put that on the list to buy. I want to see if I can get a buy in on that. Entries, I mean, honestly, bro, like I feel like this is a higher low that's forming. Like I think it's just a matter of just I don't think this chart goes down to 2 mil again, personally. Because if you were to like just do some basic kind of TA on it, because you can't even do TA on this chart, but like just look at the current green line that's drawn out here. Just look at the current green line that's drawn out. We are basically peaked above a key range. We peaked above a key range, and now we're like, it looks like anyway, we're kind of forming this as support. So this 2.96 mil area to me looks like a nice little entry. Because again, you have 80% of the supply that's staked. No one's really like selling this thing, especially not after they just won a hackathon for Coliseum. So yeah, looking good to me. Looking good. What else do we have? Let's go back to deck screener. What else do we got? Let's go GameFi. Oh yes, Clash. Let's talk about Clash a little bit, shall we? Talk about Clash. So Clash is gamified perp decks. This one is very, very interesting. I actually ended up making a post about this on the Discord. So let me actually just pull up the Discord real quick. All right, here's the Discord. So here's what I said. Here's what I said about Clash. So Clash is looking great to break out. Thesis, gamified perp decks with insane volume. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Holy moly. I think another one is coming. Hold on. Okay, sorry, had to sneeze. All right. Thesis, gamified perp decks with insane vol and good metrics. They partner with Lighter. We just talked about how well Lighter is doing. They integrate it with 13 perp dexes. They have 6,000 traders, 250 daily active users, 50 mil in volume, in trading volume so far, and 100% buyback. They've already bought back 20% of the supply. So essentially what this is a front end for a perp dex. If you think about a perp dex, and I've said this even about Hyperliquid, you know, when you think about a perp dex, like it's very intimidating. It's very confusing for a user or a trader, right? Like it can be a lot to pick up. But if you gamify the experience, just like prediction markets gamified those like 1 minute markets, they gamified like I think who did the leverage, who gamified leverage on the prediction market side. But you have all of these things, right? And that's basically like you're taking all of the complexity and all of the you're taking out all of the complexity and that intimidating nature of perp trading, and you're putting that into a game. And so you have the back end of perp dexes that's fully in motion, right? Like, and obviously they've integrated a ton of perp dexes, so I'm sure they have a ton of pairs and things to trade to trade between. But now you have this front end that's like completely user friendly. It looks more fun. It looks more engaging. And obviously people are trading this because they have a couple hundred daily active users. They have 6K traders so far. And I think the real unlock for this would be when they integrate Hyperliquid. Because when they integrate Hyperliquid now, you basically have like, you know, you have a ton of pairs to choose from, and then you have a ton of traders that would likely come over. So I like just honestly, for me, it's just the metrics and the 100% buyback and burn. Why? There's two things about perp dexes that I feel like are very important. Hyperliquid taught us that 100% buybacks works for a perp dex. 100% buyback that works for a perp dex, or I should say 100% buybacks works for perp dexes because they can generate a lot of volume, a lot of daily volume. And so that's why buybacks work, because I mean, look at Hyperliquid, look how much they're making, right? Like they have, I believe it was like they just hit a new all-time high in open interest. They just hit a new all-time high in terms of market share versus centralized exchanges. So obviously there's a ton of volume that gets generated from perp dexes, right? And so it justifies that it justifies the weight of the buybacks and burns, whereas like, a buyback and burn for, some selling of some product that, it's not going to be a lot of buybacks from that, right? Like what drives the buyback and burn is just as important as the buyback and burn itself. Because if you don't have a product that can generate a lot of revenue consistently, then it's the buybacks, it could be 50%, 100%, doesn't matter. But in this case, you have a very like you have a high revenue generating product in terms of a perp dex. But now you have a more kind of a more user friendly front end now, and you're already attracting traders. I feel like it's only a matter of time before this starts getting traction. And because it's within that perp dex narrative, it has that likelihood of generating a ton of revenue, on a daily basis with trading that could drive a lot of these buybacks and burns. And 20% is already bought back. I mean, it's still pretty low cap while generating a lot of these volumes. So, I like the odds of a supply shock. I like the odds of that. So I've been in Clash, full disclosure. I really like what they're doing over there. Let's see. I believe you guys wanted Crypto Jones, can we get a demo? Sure. I mean, look, instead of a full-on demo, I'll show you what it looks like. How about that? Let's see. Clash. And Clash, here we go. Clash of Perps. Okay. All right, I'll pull up the demo of the product. It's the demo of the product itself that was on, because I believe the founder, he did like a full-on, here it is. Yep, he did a full-on demo. So let's go media. And here it is. All right. Bang. So I won't play the audio, but like this is basically how it looks. This is basically how it looks. You're just kind of like gamifying the experience. Basically, you can go up against like other people and stuff like that. And you can use like like when you trade, you get like gold coins, you get like certain rewards that can go to building up your village. You can like then go up against someone else's village and stuff like, so it's a full on like gamified experience that kind of reminds us of some of our like mobile games, like, Clash of Clans or something like that. There's another video that he did.
I'm building Clash of Pups.
So this is another like better view of, it's a better view of the game. So, as you can see, like you can attack or like whatever. You can do all these sorts of things. You can upgrade your kingdom. You can like upgrade your characters. You can go and raid other people. So yeah, there's a lot there with the with Clash, and then to me it's gamifying the experience. You can think of like Axie Infinity gamifying yield, except the tokenomics on Axie were absolutely broken. But with this is much different. This is completely buybacks and burns, And I just like the way this chart looks. I think we'll see some upside here. What else? What else do we have? Anything else? Let's go TCG. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. A lot of people they were like a lot of people are fading Poker X, bro. This is another one that I'm in. A lot of but I don't know if you guys. Oh, you didn't see how the perp trading worked in? All right, let's see. All right. Um so basically like m- m- I'll just show you the website. I'll show you the website. Let's do this. Here's the website, Crypto Jones. Full demo mode. It's kind of let me do this real quick. I'll just make a dummy wallet real quick. Bang. Let's just do that. I'll try to show you guys. I'll try to show you guys what's up. But yeah, I mean, it's not personally, I don't think I mean, definitely, perps are super confusing. They're and stuff like that, but I'm not like I'm good just trading. So I didn't really like I haven't played the game, but I see that people are playing the game. So there is like a demographic of users that, really love to do this. Um Trade futures to earn gold. Let's see. Yeah, so you can trade directly from in game is basically. But you know what? What we can do, Crypto Jones, is instead of me doing a demo, maybe we can have Zaitoshi do the demo because he's going to be coming on the stream later this week on Wednesday. So maybe we do that with him. Maybe we do that with him. But the next one I wanted to go over was PokerX. That was another one that looked really nice. PokerX was we had them on stream, and the part for me was basically like, hey, he basically said that they've been profitable ever since they turned on their AI. Like, so Pokey Rescue, Pokey RX. Basically, this is where you can they created an AI that monitors all the marketplaces, and whenever there's a listing at a good price, basically they can snipe the price. Essentially, they can get the lowest price, and they can flip that, and they can resell. And apparently, like they have some sort of like edge on this that allows them to generate revenue. And just point you guys to a tweet. Basically 24K in profits generated to date, with most of it coming in the last 2 months. revenue has grown 12x in under 2 months. He did say this ever since he turned on the AI in April. This has been profitable, and so that was a pretty good chunk of their revenue. They have a few other revenue streams. They have the gotcha site where you can rip packs. They have the marketplace where you can buy and sell. They have 25% of profits. They're using that for token buybacks. 6K worth of the supply has been bought back, about 26% so far. So effectively, circulating supply is about 60% right now. And you see here, like all the stuff for Collector Crypt is going up. Basically, they are built to tap into the Collector Crypt marketplace, as well as like any marketplace. He even said that there's a big Polygon TCG community, so they'll be expanding. To other markets, not just Pokemon, but like they can go to sports cards, Yu-Gi-Oh. They're expanding to other chains, like I mentioned earlier, Polygon. They're expanding there as well, and he basically said that they'll be expanding to these chains, but all value will drive back to the token through buybacks. And so if they're already making a decent chunk, of revenue, I'd love to see how that evolves over time, not only as cards, continues to dominate, but also as PokeRx continues to build out as well. Because right now, they're probably, from a revenue perspective, one of the fastest growing TCG protocols on Solana, right? And like, again, value to the token. So yeah, and he said, if it makes sense for, he said if it makes sense to do like, ace rounds and stuff like that, like he's super open, super open. And I'll probably do a write up about this here at some point soon. Because I really like this protocol. And I really obviously like TCG as a sector. We called TCG the token, at 1.5 mil market cap. That's, as cards was obviously going to new all-time highs. But, I think people are treating a lot of the other TCG tokens as just like cards beta. But, a lot of these projects, they'll end up being able to do some really good stuff, like completely on their own. Yeah. And, PokeRx was also supported by Collector Crypt. They did launch their marketplace. So Collector Crypt was like, well, we can't push a competitor, but Collector Crypt did really love what they were building. And, for a time being, really helped them to get some exposure. And looks like a lot of these things are, they're generating revenue. So as long as growth is good, profits are on the uptick, users are on the uptick, like I'm good. I wonder if they said anything recently. I know they did a buy and burn. Let me see. Oh, yes. So last week they launched a new website. They like refurbished their website live on stream to showcase here. And so this was basically how the website looks right now. What I'd like to do is go to market, and I want to see if there's like was it market? Was it Dex registry? There was something that like where you can see a lot of the growth of the platform. Let me see. Let me see here. Activity? No. No. I wish I could see, because there's something that he showed last week that kind of like talked about, it showed like a chart about like, had a breakdown of their buybacks and their burns. I wonder if it's in the about section. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure, but there was a tool that you can use Oh, was it view buybacks? Yes, 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 yes. This is it right here. This is it. So just kind of shows you like the amount like that's been bought back so far. Shows you like a list of the recent buybacks. I would like to see some more like, buys and sells that happen on the site, like users, whether it's packs being opened or people buying and selling through the marketplace, like the marketplace volume. I'd love to see some of that stuff there. But yes, TCG is very, very early. And I think PokeRx should do really well off the back of that trend. Um, let's see what else. What else we got? What else we got? Um, I think that's it. I think Prism here is probably a decent buy. Prism is that it's this like new on-chain primitive that we talked about. You can look back and watch the interview. But we interviewed them a little while ago, and basically it's now this kind of like decentralized community. It's just tech that's out there, and now people can kind of build on it. So I really like what they're doing at Prism, and this one actually, is still in the 12-hour pivot, if I'm not mistaken. This is a 12-hour pivot, yeah. Or was it a 3-day? Yeah, it was a 12-hour pivot on this one. Little misdrawn there, but yeah, still kind of slightly in the pivot there. Um, but looking good, looking good. And I think next week they have some big update, so that should be a nice little catalyst for price. Let's see Robinhood chain, yeah. Looks like they're still pumping stuff on Robinhood chain. I haven't really like there was like bro like last week after the after the first after the Robinhood came out with their you know with their chain, like a lot of stuff started selling off heavily. Like a lot of bundles are just like selling. I was like, okay, well, I kind of removed myself from the Robinhood eco, but I still have eyes on it. There's a few things like dog in hood that stuff like that has been going pretty well. Um, but it's mostly like the cabals are in now. Like people are really yeah. So yeah, not bad. But I'm still gonna keep an eye on some of this stuff happening here within the Robinhood eco, just in case, because this it actually could take off. Opal. Let's look at Opal real quick. I don't think it's cooked. I think it's like coming to our entry, if anything. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's coming into our entry here. I mean, we've had this chart drawn out for a very, very, very long time. And basically we've seen it tap this level once. It's now tapping this level again. The only thing I want is just a little bit of news from the founder. Let's check to see if there's any news. Check to see if there's any news on the founder, because you gotta start like updating the community. And from what I've seen, I don't think I've seen much. So let's go to their Twitter account. I hit the community page in a second, but after their ace round a month ago, that was like pretty much it. Yeah, haven't seen much. Let's go into their community. Let's go into their community chat, like their X community, and see like what people are saying. Nothing much. I mean, we know, right? Like we know the technology itself is pretty revolutionary, right? We know that. Um June 21st. June 21st was the last thing from the dev. He obviously wrote a lot about wrote a lot about his technology, what he's building. But yeah, like I haven't seen like any real updates. So I'm just waiting on an update from Opal to see like, all right, like what, because that's the point of building in public, right? Like you get a sense of you get a sense of what these developers are doing. And if they say, hey, like, oh, I just closed uh a funding round, or hey, like I just won a hackathon, or we're releasing this V2 of this product, or we're releasing our MVP, or whatever it is. I want to see that, but I haven't seen anything yet. So not to say that it's definitely from a purely TA perspective, it's not a bad place to jump in, but you have to ask yourself, like, why are you buying here? Is it based on what you already know, like, and you just kind of have confidence? For me, like, me personally, I want a little, I want to see one last up. I want to see the latest update. What are you guys working on right this very moment? Are you talking with partners? Are you getting your product out there? Are you launching something soon? Is there a catalyst upcoming? What's the reason to get excited? Because the TA checks all the boxes. Super undervalued from what we know the tech to be, but also, we're down probably like 80-90% from all-time highs right now. Yeah, we're down 70% from all-time highs. We're at a key zone pivot entry. Like from a TA standpoint, this fits the bill. I just need to see from a fundamental side, see what the updates are. But that's pretty much a look at Opal. If you just want a blind bid is actually not bad, because again, now we have that token alignment, right? Like now we know that it's an ace round, so when you have that alignment, and you can just, and if you personally have built conviction in the founder, and you know that what he's building is solid, this is not a bad place to just blind ape and just call it, right? So yeah, looking good here. Other than that, I think we're good. I think we're good on anything you guys want to check out, anything you guys want me to run through. We've been about 2.5 hours into the stream. It's not that like active of a day from what I'm seeing. It's all right, like there's some volume, like, but like it's all stuff that I've already bid, so there's not much to do today. It's like stuff that I've already bought, positions I'm already in. I'm already in longs. I'm already like in some of this stuff that we've been talking about today. So nothing really like new that is popping up. But you guys let me know if you see anything. But yeah, I think that if not, I mean, we can kind of cap the stream there. It's 586 of us on stream today. Like, wow, appreciate you guys. Like on a pretty reasonably dead Monday, we're still out here doing our thing. So appreciate you guys for coming in, for tuning in today. I want you guys just real quick, some housekeeping for the end of the stream. Let's go ahead and make sure you go to @MCG Live. I want you to do two things when you go here. First, just make sure you're hitting follow. We're here Monday through Friday, at 12 p.m. Eastern time. What we do is we interview founders. We talk about the markets. We monitor this change in narrative and this change in the way we invest in our industry. We cover this token to equity sort of narrative. We've covered that from the beginning. That's one of the reasons why this stream was started. So, happy to stream the entire outcome and how it all unfolds. So if you like that, you like on-chain alpha, you like trading, a lot of times all you got to do is watch MCG, and you're pretty much caught up with most things. So there you have it. There's that. Then just go to our pinned tweet here, hit like and hit retweet. I know that we're coming towards the end of the stream here, but go ahead and let the homies know that we're all here, we're all live, we're all watching MCG, and if anything, they can rewind the stream if they're just joining in to get some of the information. But overall, looking forward to the rest of the streams for the rest of the week. I mean, we got Claw, BioLLM, Lasso, Finance coming on tomorrow. Wednesday, we have JTVO, BV7X, Clash. We talked a lot about them a lot today. They're coming on Wednesday. Thursday, we have Chip, Upshot coming on. And then Friday, we have Start Out Fun and Dragnet coming on. So absolutely massive week, guys. We're looking forward to having another great week here at MCG. Let me know if there's anything else that let me know if there's let me know what you guys want to talk about in the Discord. Join our Discord, link in the bio. Go ahead and click the link, and we can talk about all of any other projects or anything that you guys are looking into. Hit us up in the Discord. We'll talk about it. We'll help you research. We'll help you form a long-term, a long-term conviction thesis, right? Like, we're not just like blindly aping into, the next Shiba Inu Bitcoin 6900 420 coin. We're actually forming a thesis and really digging into some research. So hit us up in the Discord if you have anything else for us. But guys, I appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Got a lot of good interviews coming up. Outside of that, appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I'll see you in Discord. I'll see you on the timeline. Peace.